moving on, man, let's get to the rapid fire segment of our podcast where we call this Connect the Whip. Connect means you agree, and whiff means that you disagree. Let's get into our very first Connect the Whip. And this concerns one of the Russell brothers, but this one is not Mr. Gary Russell Jr., but the little brother, Mr. Gary Antuanne Russell, who ended up stopping a wily vet, Victor Postal, and is now rising in the 140-pound division. Especially since we just talked about Josh Taylor, getting a favorable decision over Jack Catterall, right. But now enters Gary Antuanne Russell. So here's a connected with Q. Gary Antuanne Russell is a real player now at the 140-pound division.
That's a super connect. Amazing fight, and it was an amazing from jump ball. You know what I'm saying? He was digging that Postal body so decent, going after him, cutting the ring off, using speed, using his head movement. We had my man, Mr. Gary Russell Jr. in the corner, and you know what I'm saying? We had the father in the corner too, man. I think he had a hospital band on, man. You know what I'm saying? One leg amputated, man. You gotta love the Gary Russell. You gotta love the Russell family, man. You gotta love them. But it's a super connect, and one thing about that fight, the only thing about that fight I didn't like, man, I feel like the stoppage was premature. I feel like Postal deserved better than that. You know what I'm saying? He's fighting with his country, and shout out to Ukraine, man. Shout out to all our Ukrainian boxers, soldiers, and he was another one. He was in the ring fighting with all that on his mind, you know what I'm saying, with his family, with his mind on his family and his country. But he fought an amazing fight, but I just feel like the referee didn't have to stop the fight when they did, because I feel like he was still fighting back, and it was premature. It was largely disputed. He didn't cry about it. I will say I didn't see him cry about it. He knew he was losing the fight, but it's a super connect, man. Mr. Gary Antuanne Russell, he's here to stay, man. He's here to stay. What you say,
man? I agree 1,000%, man. I agree with you full-heartedly on Gary Antuanne Russell being a major player at the 140-pound division. And I'd like to just take a moment, man. You touched on it for a second. And here's what I will say, man. Salute to Victor Postal for doing what he did and still getting in the ring on last night, because this was a man who literally right now has a wife and children who are in the war-torn country right now of Ukraine, with all the news flying all around of Russia invading and moving throughout the country. This man's wife and children are literally over there right now. So for him to still trudge forward and go through with the fight and give at least his best effort, I have to salute him for that. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Even though he was losing, that was kind of one of those favorable stoppages in a way, even though I feel like Gary Antuanne Russell was going to win. He deserved to win the bout, and he was going to win. It was one of those moments where, all right, I personally wouldn't have stopped it if I was the referee. But nonetheless, man, it was still an excellent fight by Gary Antuanne Russell. Again, I'm happy to see him rise in the ranks in the 140-pound division. It's about time for him to be able to get his opportunity to start making noise. For Victor Postal, hopefully he can immediately get back over there to Ukraine, to his family, and support them and help, make sure they're safe. But overall, man, that was a good fight by both fighters, and I wish the best to Victor Postal if that's the end of his career. It was a good career for Victor Postal as well. But with that being said, bro,